Over the years, Donald Trump has said a lot of things and done a lot of things that are hilarious, sometimes intentionally, most of the time unintentionally. Well, now the New York Times is reporting on something that was going on behind the scenes last week, namely when Trump was about to leave the hospital. And, what do you even say about this? In several phone calls last weekend from the presidential suite at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, Mr. Trump shared an idea he was considering. When he left the hospital, he wanted to appear frail at first when people saw him, according to people with knowledge of the conversations. But underneath his button-down dress shirt, he would wear a Superman t-shirt, which he would reveal as a symbol of strength when he ripped open the top layer. He ultimately did not go ahead with the stunt. Now, before I comment further on this, let me just say, there's a 30% chance in my mind that this story is made up. Because Trump does have a lot of people around him who don't like him. Who can blame them? And so I do feel like there's a decent number of stuff that's been said that has been made up over the years. A lot of these books that come out, John Bolton, I assume he's lying in his book about Trump on most stuff. Trump's niece, I bet some of the stuff is exaggerated, some of it's true in that book. You never know. I really do feel like Trump brings out the worst characteristics in other people because they see how bad he is, how much he lies, how narcissistic he is, and people feel like, okay, I'll just be the same way in return. That is a sense I get. Now, it's just me. Some people may disagree. People might think everybody else around him is totally honest and he's the only one who's full of it. I think usually if you're in that orbit, you're also not a great person. Look at who he surrounded himself with. Roger Stone, Paul Manafort. The list goes on and on. Scaramucci, who somehow has now become a media darling, which is ridiculous. But anyway, putting aside the 30% chance this is totally made up, if Trump actually did this, I think I would have said, oh, the whole thing with COVID was fake. Corin had floated that theory to me early on and said, I think this is fake because when he beats it, he might get a bump in the polls. He's doing poorly in the polls. This is something that could help him turn it around. This is what Corin said to me early on when we discussed this issue. I wasn't buying it. Honestly, I'm still not buying it. But if Trump did this, when he's leaving Walter Reed, rips off his button-down shirt and he's wearing a Superman thing underneath, I'd be like, oh, the whole thing was staged. It was all staged. Totally staged. I keep telling you guys, a recurring theme now on this show, I've said it on Twitter and elsewhere, is that I feel like everything seems fake. Everything feels like a movie. Nothing seems real anymore. It's like we're in a simulation or somebody is literally scripting this and writing it and we're all just part of this grand scheme, this grand plot. We're characters in this thing. But this again would give me that moment of like, this can't be real. Nothing's felt real since 2016. But this even more so is like, excuse you? You can do the Superman shtick? So assuming the story is real, I wonder why he changed his mind. I wonder what made him realize this is not a good idea. I seriously wonder. What would make him change his mind on this? Is it that he probably didn't occur to him about the 210,000 people who are dead? Might feel like it'd be disrespectful to them. But yeah, there was something in his book about how he thinks people want to believe in something bigger and better than them. And he tries to play that role of like, I'm not like your average person. I'm different. And I'm grandiose. That's why he always, he would always have gold stuff. You ever seen his apartment? Gold everywhere. And this would be right in line with that philosophy. Like, no, I'm not like, I defeated this thing. See, I'm stronger than the virus. And you know that they do, like, there is this thing that happens, usually with people on the far right, where they do tend to think of this stuff as like, it's a force of will thing. Like, oh, if you have the proper determination, you can override it. And it's like, I don't know how to tell you guys this. That's not the way a virus works. Your will is irrelevant. It reminds me of a story my dad told me back in the day where he got his wisdom teeth pulled and he didn't fill the prescription for the painkillers afterward. And he thought, like, I'll white knuckle it. I'll get my way through it. And then he literally collapsed at work when the Novocaine wore off and he felt the pain. He collapsed at work and realized, yeah, mind over matter is not really a thing. It's only a thing within reason. Like, there are obviously things that it's just irrelevant how much your mind tries to override it. It's not going to happen. But you do get the sense that a lot of these goofballs think like, no, yeah, he defeated the virus through pure force of will. Or it was the, team of a dozen doctors who were on him 24/7 and the antibody cocktail he got and remdesivir and the steroids and everything he'd been taking the entire time. Or maybe it was that. People don't have that same level of healthcare. By the way, I said something that was wrong the other day and I need to correct it. My friend who's the doctor in the city in an area that was very hard hit, he said people do get a blood plasma treatment, but it's not the same as the one Trump had. Trump had the Regeneron treatment. It's an antibody cocktail, and it's a newer way of doing it, and it's not the same as the blood plasma treatment that people were getting at my friend's hospital. I thought it was the same treatment anybody gets. It's the same idea about antibodies, but no, Trump's is different. It's the Regeneron version of it. It's the antibody cocktail. It's new. And so people generally have not had access to that yet, although they might soon. But anyway, I digress. I'm kind of babbling now, but I can't, like, the fact that this was, that we read this, Trump might have done the Superman thing, my brain cannot grasp how insane everything is in the world right now. How ridiculous everything is. And it's also like, dude, you're 74 and you're fat, okay? You're 74, you're fat. You're going to pretend like you're Superman? I mean, I will give it to Trump that he sometimes doesn't feel human, but that's not just a positive thing. It's also like, the inability to have empathy for anybody. Like, that's a thing that I noticed with him. The inability to pick up on social cues, like in the debate with Biden, where he just kept interrupting to the point where you didn't seem macho, dude. You seemed annoying. So yeah, he's got the thing where he doesn't feel human, but that has a lot of negative things that go along with it as well. But, I mean, ridiculous. Everything is ridiculous. This is a joke. We're a joke. I just can't fathom everything that's happening in the country. And Numbnuts may have actually done this. I'm definitely happy he didn't.